Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Liam's Hockey. This day in hockey, as we try and survive this global pandemic. I don't know if I could do these every day or not, but seeing as my dear friend Tracy just reminded me that it was Dave Keon's birthday today, and I should have known that actually, because he's 80 years old today. That I thought I would give Mr. Keon a shout out because I do have what I think is one of the most unusual anecdotes in definitely in Dave Keon's life and maybe in Toronto Maple Leaf history regarding Dave Keon. So I'm going to have that for you in just a moment. So, a couple other things about March 22nd, which is today's date. Denny Savard. Start with a little Denny Savard stuff on this day. March 22nd, 1982, passed Bobby Hull for the most points in one season by a Chicago Blackhawk. Now, he broke it again and then again. I believe in 1988, ending up with 131 points. Outstanding offensive player, Hall of Famer, as you know. Of course, he won his one and only Stanley Cup as a member of the Montreal Canadiens. But did you know that Denny Savard is part of one of the greatest hockey anecdotes in history? Denny played junior on the same line with two other guys named Denny. Denny Cyr and Denny Tremblay. And Denny Savard. Imagine that. They were called Les Trois Denis for the Montreal Junior Canadiens. Obviously all born in the province of Quebec, as you would probably surmise. So another neat little addendum to the story. Actually, they were all born in the same year, 1961. And in fact, they were all born the same month, February. And to kick it off, to finish it off, they were all born on the same date. February 4th, 1961, Les Trois Denis of the Montreal Junior Canadiens, all born same date, same month, same year, played for the same junior team on the same line. Pretty freakish. Anyway, Denny Savard on this day passes Bobby Hull. Dickie Moore on this day in 1959 won his first of two Art Ross trophies. Excuse me, I guess his second of two Art Ross trophies. And he set a record with 96 points, passing Gordie Howe, who had set the previous record, on this date in 1953 with 95 points. But my interesting anecdote about Dickie Moore is I was invited for a number of years by Murray Wilson to attend the Montreal Canadian alumni fantasy camps that he ran up in the Mount Tremblant area. And they included every summer a golf game at a golf course called, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, a Rondell, I believe it was called, which was owned by the late Dickie Moore. And I'll tell you what, Murray did an outstanding job for the number of years he was associated with this. He took on a huge task. There were a number of people that helped him out, some great volunteers, Richard Love and some others primarily, but Murray did an outstanding job. He was the point person. As a former Montreal Canadian himself and Stanley Cup winner and a former Ottawa 67 and a dear friend of mine and a brother of Doug Wilson, as most of you know. But this one, and I used to MC them. So this one particular occasion, I went around the room and counted the Stanley Cup rings in the room that particular night. And there was 163. 163. Now, Jean Beliveau, Henri Richard, and Yvon Cornoyer were all there and contributed to 31 of them alone. Just those three guys. Serge Savard was there. He had 8. That's 39 just with 4 guys. But, I mean, he had guys going back. He had Dollard St. Laurent and Phil Goyette were there, and he had Chris Nyland who was there who won one. So, 163, 24 or 25 alumni. Dickie Moore's golf course on this day in 1959 set the all-time record for points in one season with 96. So I thought we'd honor him with a little shout out as well. Then to finish off today with Mr. Keon, Dave Keon, on this day in 1974 played his last game ever as a Toronto Maple Leaf. Now, that in itself would be somewhat symbolic because he was voted the greatest Toronto Maple Leaf of all time, as most of you know. He won the Calder Trophy in 1961, the Lady Byng in 62. He's a 4-time Stanley Cup winner and a Conn Smythe Trophy winner in 1967. But did you know that Dave Keon had one fight and one fight only in his NHL career, and it came in that final game ever that he played as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs on April 7th, 1974, against the Boston Bruins. He fought Greg Shepard in the second period. Now, that game, you would think the Leafs were a Stanley Cup contender or something in 1974. Their goaltender that night was Dunk Wilson. He was taking runs at everybody, including Wayne Cashman in the first period. The game was 4-4 going in the third period before Cashman and Bobby Orr put it away. The Bruins won the game 6-4. Keon has his first ever fight in the NHL against said Greg Shepard. He also picked up 2 assists in the game. The only thing he was missing was a goal for a Gordie Howe hat trick. Imagine, in his only fighting major, if he had picked up a Gordie Howe hat trick. But happy birthday. We'll end on that note to Mr. Dave Keon, voted the greatest Maple Leaf of all time. Deservedly so. He definitely was, in my opinion. And he's 80 today. So we'll end on that note today. As usual, I've got my Molson X and my Jameson's Irish Whiskey to help me through this virus, because that just, kills everything. So enjoy it, and hope you're staying safe and well. And who knows? May talk to you again tomorrow. See if we can keep these going for a little bit. All right? G'day.